of all, thank you everyone for joining us. Good morning for us here. Good afternoon for you, Rob, or good evening, I guess.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
Just about.
So anyway, just to start things off, I'm going to let everyone know, for anyone who's joining us for the first time, in the very bottom right-hand corner, there is a text box which you can type your questions. Please, as Rob and I are conversing, fill up that chat box with your questions, with your thoughts, and then I'll relay them to Rob here, and we'll keep the conversation going and get all your curiosities answered. So first, Rob, thank you for joining us. We all know what you do. How did you get there? What is the Rob story, the Rob Melville story of success?
Okay, I won't go into full details, but I'm from the north of England, kind of fairly industrial place, but not too far into the countryside. Beautiful rolling hills, and for me, that mixture of the industry and nature has definitely influenced me. You can see it in the McLarens and what I've done elsewhere. Good parents. Dad was the engineer. Mum was an artist. So again, had that kind of blend of art and science, which for me is what design is all about. And from there, went off to university. Did 1 year at college in art and design. I did oil painting, photography. Tried everything. And for me, I left knowing that I definitely wanted to go into cars, because I nearly joined the army. I nearly joined up for the army because I thought I could jump out of planes for free.
Wow.
This sounds like a great plan, but look,
didn't see that coming.
And boxing and all this stuff. So anyway, luckily I injured my knee. I had this kind of junction then. I thought, right, do I try and recover, get into the army, or do I go down the art route? Kind of different, right? So anyway, went down the art and design. Went off to Huddersfield University, where I met my wife, Shelley, and then from there, 4 years there, 1 year in industry. I designed, I did boats, I did planes, I did some stuff for Mazda and Ford, but all this 1 year, and it was a great learning experience for me, because everything we did had to be able to be used, because it was such a small little consultancy. It was not famous, but they had very good contacts. So I got a lot of exposure there, strangely or luckily. And then from there, went off to the Royal College of Art, did a 2-year master's. Now it's down in London, again in vehicle design, same as my standard degree. And then I worked for Jaguar Land Rover. I was there for 3 years, worked in advanced design, really all the cars up to the Evoque. That period of cars, I worked on that strategy that with Ford really saw them rejuvenate the business. Yeah. And obviously I know they've sold that on to Tata, but Tata continued with that vision. The Evoque and the Range Rover were 2 key projects for me there, especially the Evoque, the concept, the LRX. And then I moved to GM and I had my interview in Detroit. Big boardroom, really nervous, 10, 12 people sat around. And luckily I got offered the job, but my plan was to stay in the UK. So it was kind of a risky move, go for the job in America. But I wanted the job in the UK advanced studio, and that's what they said. Go and work there for 6 months, we'll get your visa sorted out. Anyway, luckily I managed to impress the boss, so he decided to keep me anyway. And I stayed there for 3 years in advanced design, mid-engine Corvettes, Hummers. I did a land speed record car, because Bob Lutz, who was the big cheese there at the time, he was super obsessed with anything fast. He had his own MiG. So this land speed record car was actually a project that went live. It was like a lunchtime project for me. And unfortunately, GM, as it started to go bankrupt, they pulled the plug on that project. But like I say, the mid-engine Corvettes, these GD6 sort of designed Hummers, super lightweight, loads of glazing, like the Senna door glass. I took from that project and put onto the Senna. And it was this idea of being able to see exactly where all the obstacles were off-road. And it was, that would have been so awesome. But anyway, unfortunately, that we missed the boat on that one. And then one Friday night, I was taping up a Cadillac DTS sort of rear bumper exhaust area. Phone rang. It's about 7:30. It was Friday night. I thought, oh, God, who's this? No name. I thought, better just take it. And it was the CEO, the then CEO at McLaren, who said, your name's been given to me. And ironically, the people who gave them my name was that small design consultancy 10 years earlier.
No way.
Yeah. So and I couldn't believe it. So out of the blue, GM's going bankrupt, and suddenly I get this opportunity to go to McLaren. And obviously at the time it wasn't what it is now.
And back to the UK.
But the F1, wow, dream job.
Mm-hmm.
Go and hopefully work on the
Had
next.
Frank Stephenson already exited?
No, Frank had just started basically. So by the time I finished at GM, Frank had started with me within about a month of each other. So when I started,
So you guys inherited the 12C, right?
Yeah. So I didn't touch the 12C. Neither of us did anything.
Yeah,
on the 12C.
because that design was pretty much set in stone for a while.
And I don't know who did that. They've always kept that kind of quiet.
Yeah.
So then we started on P1 in earnest, and me, Paul, Dan Parry-Williams, there's a few of us who are still there. And we kind of took that from drawing board all the way through to production. But that was an incredible experience. Yeah,
it's wild.
And that's how I got to McLaren. Yeah,
I mean, it's so interesting to hear it because I think for guys, it's not a boring journey, and it's really interesting the things along the way that something like you said 10 years prior. It isn't like the very last thing was responsible for McLaren. It was something that was a decade before.
It just shows, right, how all that hard, when you're doing all that hard work, even as a student, because that job 10 years earlier, I was just an intern.
But you clearly left an impression. I mean, somebody saw the greatness.
Well, I don't know what they saw, but thank God they saw something.
No, that's great. It's funny. I have a question that I want to ask. That is, by the way, the questions are piling up, which are great. I'm going to start getting to them. Because you inherited the 12C, and what little I know of car design and spending time with different designers from different brands, there is, especially as people come and go, there is a design language. And with brands like Ferrari and Lamborghini that have, decades of history and previous models and design language, McLaren didn't, but yet you still had to kind of start life with the 12C. Was there pressure to kind of be like, hey, this is what we are, like this is McLaren? Or is that why the car kind of almost had to evolve? Like the 650 was kind of like a 12C,
right.
Like you almost have to have stepping stones to get to where you wanted to be in terms of what you wanted the brand to look like?
I think I can share this story now. Andy might win, but don't worry, Andy, I'm not going to say anything.
Andy, earmuffs.
It's going to get you in trouble. But so when I joined, as you say, the 12C was pretty much done. I did a little bit on the interior to finish off. On some carbon packs, but then, I think it was a very sort of run-brief design. It was clearly good-looking, great proportions. For me personally, it lacked a little bit in some areas regards character, but it was clearly very competent, and incredibly technically advanced. It had the starts of some DNA in there though. Like it had these mini jowls on the front and that lower bumper area. And the integrated rear lamps and that rear,
which was really
rear grill area. So, obviously to maintain the dihedral doors, it had the F1's Coke bottle line through the body side. So there were some bits there, but there were also little bits that I found slightly generic because the intake was large intakes just behind the trailing edge of the door. Aventa doors, other supercars were doing that.
I was going to say, it's very commonplace.
So to come back then to, so that's kind of framed it. So to come back to your question now about how do you define or create that surface language and design identity. For me, I'd spent all that time at Land Rover and at GM in advance. It was all about how do you take an architecture and differentiate it across brands. So this was like my perfect job. I was like, this is the moment I've been waiting.
You've been preparing for this.
And what I could see the opportunity was, there was a quote from Chris Bangle, and he'd said something about supercars have done fast for decades, right? And I can't remember the rest of what he said, but he didn't go down the lines of aesthetics. But anyway, I thought, well, Chris Bangle's another famous, very famous.
Oh no, trust me, you don't have to tell me. Chris Bangle is I would call him infamous. I mean, infamous, come on, right? Remember when he launched the 7 Series, and it was like, what have you done?
He was very brave. And he was always thinking of why are we doing it this way? How can I do it differently? So it kind of resonated with me, that, and I thought, well, yeah, you're right. Supercars have done fast for decades, like beautiful Aston Martins, Porsches, Ferraris.
Right.
I thought, well, we need to do something different, but authentic. And I started to research nature a lot, and I was looking at the fish and the sharks and the birds' wings and all this stuff. And I was looking at the Formula One cars, and that they shared that design approach. It was authentic. It had very sort of bull-nosed sections on the front of the wings. The same, you see the same forms on the sand dunes in nature. It's just because of the way the wind wants to move around an object. So same in the Formula One cars. So we started to unpeel and layer the cars. So it wasn't just about the A surface, like the traditional fuselage body size.
Right.
On the P1, we started to unpeel the car. It's a very sort of a classical silhouette in many ways.
Yeah.
Super shrink wrapped, layered, so you could see the musculature of the car. You were showing off the way the car worked and directed the air, not only around it but through it now.
Right.
You remember the doors on the P1, and that's continued all the way through to Elva.
Yeah.
The shapes on the exterior, the sections you see, it basically telling you where the air's traveling through the car.
Yeah.
Even in the light catcher in the sills, in the bulge in the door, it's because those bulges and volumes are placed not only to perfect diffusion of the air into the radiators, but at the same time they catch the light in the right area. So it's this dual function, beautiful yet functional.
Form and function.
Yeah. It has to be this technical sculpture. And for Senna, that is technical sculpture through and through. It is an absolute, it's like a military type approach project. Yeah. Like if you took it is. How would you design a McLaren with a military hat on? It's kind of like no excess, everything for a reason. But of course, you can bend that phrase, everything for a reason, in different ways. And then you go to, let's say, an Elva or a 720, and it becomes beautiful yet functional. It's still a technical sculpture, but it's very exotic, very stunning. But the features aren't fake. Every feature has a purpose and a reason behind it, and it has to be beautiful at the same time. That's the challenge, anyway.
Yeah. No. So I will say this. I gotta serve the people here. There's some great questions here stacking up, and I'm going to try and go in an order that we can keep the conversation going. So, did you have a favorite designer growing up? And actually, I'm going to add to this question and say, it doesn't even have to be a car designer. Was there somebody like I've got a book over on my coffee table of Dieter Rams, and I loved everything.
One of the books in my stack.
Is that really?
So I just got the book out. I've got Dieter Rams. Which version is it called? It's
I've got the one in the sleeve that I don't know if it's a collector's edition or whatever, but
the Less and More one. It's the Less and More, and this is the guy who sent me.
I have that one as well.
New York, and the reason he sent it was I told him he was my favorite designer. So you've hit the nail on the head.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and again, I love his 10 rules, 10 values. But it all goes back to authenticity, and one of the great let's say values he had was to reframe the problem. Yeah, I think it's number 5 or 6, right? And he says about you reframe the problem and you think different, and that's how I've always thought about the supercar. We can let's take 720 again for example. Sure. Supercars at that point were dark and dingy. Very closed in, high waistline, high base of screen, no rear visibility. Suddenly, 720 got.
You just described a Lamborghini.
So we exposed the carbon fiber. Sweetheart, family, kids. So we really skinnied up the A-pillars, exposed the carbon fiber structure by unpeeling the trim. When you look over your shoulder, you have those glass C-pillars. So you feel like this 3-degree sort of jet fighter cockpit. Yeah. And suddenly the supercar was easier to park than a family car. Right. Let more light in there, so it was a more pleasant place to be. And it was just trying to think about the problems in a different way, even the headlamp area. Normally you've got the angled lens. We stood the lens up on the headlight, better light quality, better quality of light, but obviously it starts to stop the airflow. So we sunk the headlamp into an eye socket, that very strong triangular feature on the front, and turn it into an air duct to feed the top of the radiator. And now suddenly the radiator system's working better, so the radiators can be smaller and lighter. The lights are working better because vertical lens. and you've got a really strong, iconic face, which is, it's not styled, it's designed.
Yeah.
It's through proper design thinking. So every element on the cars, that's the target.
I mean, and talk about an elegant solution to a problem, you know, because I mean, that's become such an iconic part of that car. I mean, it's, when you think about headlamp and especially tail lamp design, it's become a bit like a brand. It's almost like another badge. You know, if you look at it with car, you know, when you see a car going down the road, you can tell it's an Audi or you can tell it's a Mercedes.
Yeah.
And so, but the 720, I mean, that was a bold move. This kind of this negative space that's so prominent up front, but you know how it got delivered and what it does. The fact that it has a story versus like just put a hole. Nobody's doing a hole. You know, put a hole in it. Okay, so here we go. Let me because again the questions are stacking up. Okay, favorite car design of all time. What is your holy grail on four wheels?
Okay. If any people on the call,
no political stuff. Don't.
Yeah, no. If anyone knows me, for those people who've met me or know me or asked me that question on the call, because I'll be consistent every time, hands down, the Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale.
The Stradale, absolutely.
Yeah, I have pictures on my Instagram. I just love that thing. For me, that is perfection. The proportions, the theme is volume. It looks aerodynamic. Skinny A-pillars, glass that goes up over into the roof like Speedtail. I'm not saying I've been lazy, but there's a lot of inspiration.
No. It's funny, when you think of a car with a really interesting glass house, you know what I mean? I mean, the glass on that car, it's amazing they were able to do that back then. What it took to do those concave shapes, and it's
incredible. And you know what? I think now when you look at the modern interpretation of that, really on a Speedtail, which is what it is, where you have this glass over. What made our life really, really difficult on Speedtail is the fact we have this photochromic interlayer, which means you can go from transparent to opaque. And we've got the LEDs built into the roof there as well. Well, into the glass, you can tap them and the LEDs come on.
Yeah.
That made the bending of the glass incredibly challenging. Absolutely pushed the technology to within a millimeter of what was possible. Yeah. Super tricky.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, and for everyone watching, if you want to Google that to see what car we're talking about, it's the Alfa Romeo. Some people call it the Tipo 33, Typo 30, but 33 Stradale. It'll come up right away. As soon as you type in Alfa Romeo 33, the car is iconic, and I'm sure a lot of you know it. Okay, so let's see here. This is a fun one. If you could redesign a movie car or have a hand in designing one, which one would it be?
Back to the Future. DeLorean.
Yeah.
I think that's just, I love that movie as a kid. That was a great movie anyway, good fun. And a guy at work's got a DeLorean. So, and he's always redesigning it. So I'd redesign it, I'd get him to come and help. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's see here. So this is kind of actually back to the kind of design, question of your favorite designers. If you could, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. Do you, and I kind of know the answer because I've seen some of your sketches on other things, but when it comes to everyday objects in life or other things that maybe that you're interested in, it could be furniture, it could be whatever. Are there other design things that you obsess over that you ever go, I'd like to have a hand in that. I'd like to go work for, say, Apple and, redo all the watches and phones, or is it furniture, or is it, it doesn't have to be trans design, so it doesn't have to be a boat or anything like that. But is there anything else that you would love to put your hand to?
I think first of all is, I'll come to specifics, but I love all design because I think I love life. Whether I love all different types of music, I love all different types of hobbies, interests, whatever it may be. I like to kind of keep open outlook on stuff. So, and the same with design. I often find myself, if I'm not sketching cars, I often draw characters, actually. And that sounds like a strange thing, right? A character design. How old was I? I just started at Land Rover, but my tutor at the RCA, Royal College of Art, had friends at Pixar. So I said to Land Rover, I'll go and do my 2-week dealership experience in San Francisco.
Awesome.
So off I go. And and actually really don't do any dealership experience. Shelley's looking at me now laughing, but we ended up going over to Pixar, met a few people, kind of just wormed my way in, and I was trying to be a concept artist, and at that time I'd not really done too much, but I left my work there, and they said, look, nothing at the moment, and I went away all feeling downbeat, and then it was probably 6 months later. In fact, no, it wasn't. It was even longer. It was over a year later. Dawn Hargstad, who was their recruiter at the time, still remember her name, so I was so happy to see her name. She wrote to me and said, "Oh, we loved your character designs. Would you be interested in coming back?" Well, at that point, the LRX became the Evoque, just kind of started to gain momentum at Land Rover.
Yeah.
So I just said, yeah, amazing, but no, and I'd moved on, and the salaries were very different for for a junior designer to go back. I just moved up at Land Rover to go back down the pecking order. I thought, no, I'm going to stick with my car design. And I'm kind of glad I did now, obviously, right? So yeah, so character design, I love furniture design. Apple interests me, but it definitely interests me because I think the challenge for them is how do you add character into something? A phone is okay, but the tricky thing is, even though as much as I like the Apple Watch, and they're on about Apple glasses now, I kind of think if everyone's wearing the same glasses and got the same watch on, after a while, when does it reach that point where, not sure, or does it become cool because actually people don't want to show excess, or I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. That's an interesting way of thinking about that. Of kind of like you said, if we're all wearing it, then it doesn't become a statement. But it's still something that's aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. I love watch design as well. So I've been working on some projects with Richard Mille, which has been really good fun. Yeah,
that's been really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've done two watch designs with them now. Although one's due.
So did you have a hand in the Senna one, the launch one, and then did you also do the Speedtail one?
Yeah, and then doing the Speedtail one. The Speedtail one's really cool. Yeah, it's very different for them. Yeah,
because that one's a tourbillon, right?
Yeah.
So it's super complex.
Very super complex.
That's super cool. I had no idea. That's awesome.
So we've done that. I mean, through McLaren, I've done luggage, watches, sunglasses. We've done these Lamy sunglasses where we scan your face. Yeah. And they 3D prints them, titanium frames, super lightweight, super strong, just the right amount of flexing. I mean, the bridges, everything's integrated in. It's a very clean, elegant frame. And then the lenses just they're almost held like diamonds. Just set into the frame very delicately. But actually, they're incredibly strong. And then when you fold the arms away, rather than a normal back and forth like this, they pivot in like dihedral doors.
I was going to say like dihedral doors.
Yeah. So when they're folded up, they're super slim, take up no room in your jacket, in your pocket.
Yeah.
Again, always trying to use the same philosophy for anything that I design, really.
I think that's. I had no idea that McLaren, like I said, that you had a hand in everything that kind of wears the badge.
We've had some huge electronics companies come where we've spoken to them, and they've gone, "Wow, these philosophies, these principles, this design thinking, influenced by Dieter Rams, massively." Like, wow, can you actually? So they're asking us to design future laptops and all sorts of things. We haven't got time, but I'd love to experience all those different elements of design. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea that you had a hand in all that stuff. Okay, actually, this is kind of having to do with a bit of personalization, and actually, I'll lead this question into another question because they're kind of the same thing. Do you have any say in the color of a launch vehicle when it gets presented to the world?
Yeah, I do. So I have my view. So my mission is I need to show the rest of the company a range of options, right?
Right.
And during that process, and actually the aim is that range of options I want to like and love every single one. So it doesn't matter which one people choose.
Right.
It doesn't always pan out that way, but and it's not my ultimate call either. So the sales and marketing team, because ultimately they're responsible for what they believe the market is after. They have final say on that particular item.
Yeah.
But I will always levy, and normally we try and get to the same point together, and we do. Let's say not 9 times out of 10, but let's say 7 times out of 10. We do align and get there. And And it's a tricky one. It's so personal, right? Color. I mean,
It is.
I'm terrible. Everything black. The house is black. Even the outside of the house is black. The cars are black.
Look, I can relate. If you saw the rest of my place, you'd see a constant theme, and black is it. You know,
And
black, white.
You can't get away with that on every show car, right? It just doesn't work. It's a bit, in California especially, you need the brighter colors, and this is No, so.
Right. No. Well, and so now I'm going to lead this in the second question, which is if you had to spec a car, and you don't have to get into details unless you want, but what is the Rob Melville exterior and interior combination?
It is literally black on black.
Okay. No, look, there's nothing wrong with that.
The only bit I've broken the rule on was I've got the black wheels with like a dual tone paint. So you have a gloss black wheel with then like a graphite sort of gunmetal grey.
Yeah.
To it. So it's very subtle. Yeah, I can't lie, can I? It's all the cars.
No. It's funny. I mean, for us as a dealer of cars and different brands, we're constantly trying to find something that's unique, something that isn't generic, but at the same time, there's a huge tie-in with luxury goods, with fashion, whether it's a car. And to be fair, it's almost like you could see a car as an accessory, right?
Yeah.
And just black goes with you know what I mean? It's kind of, it goes with everything.
I was going to say, I did just spec an Elva for like a specking video for people who've ordered one, and as we were recording, I had to do my own spec. So interesting. I thought, well, I can't just go fully black, right? So I thought I need to do something a little bit bolder, a little bit fresher, different. So I ended up doing this sort of metallic black body through the front. Then it goes into a very, very light silver in the rear, like a sort of velocity thing. But the last third of the car is this very bright silver. So you almost go black and white theme going on. The interior's full white. The wheels were fully blacked out, but white calipers, which is really hard to do. And then
you guys do white calipers?
No. Well, you can, but it's just a trick.
I was going to say, because I thought that was on the list. I remember working with some of the BLMs and MSO, and I remember somebody asking for white calipers, and I thought they said, well, they don't have a paint yet that's white because the heat, how much heat that's generated by the caliper, and all brands have those restrictions. So I just didn't know.
So I did that, and they were like, "Oh, that's a bit tricky, but we can try and do." Because I wanted to try and do a carbon fiber body with a white paint that blended into it.
Which
we couldn't do that because it's just a full visual carbon fiber and blending it in with a white.
Especially that contrast. That contrast is so hard.
So we ended up going with visual carbon in this, obviously no tints on it, but into this very light silver, which they said they could just get away with. It's just testing the boundaries. Yeah. But that was based on like a Chanel type theme. I know I'm going a bit random now, but
no.
I always believed in this black and white contrast, simple palette. So I thought, if I'm going to venture away from full black, let's do that.
Right. No. I think that's awesome. I'd love to see it. Is there anywhere where is that going to make its way into any marketing material?
I think they said it may do. I think it'll go out to customers. Maybe it even went out last week. And I think then thereafter, they may take the odd snippet out and use on Instagram or PR material. Yeah.
Well, we'll get our hands on it and share it with everyone. It's funny. Speaking of Elva, there's a lot of Elva questions on here because I would say that's probably nothing against 765 or anything like that, but the Elva was a pretty big statement. I mean that car is something else, and I'll let you talk more about it. But somebody asked right off the bat, literally the first question is essentially, what is your favorite line or part of the Elva?
Okay. So for me, I've had this kind of mission since I got to McLaren, which was to capture Formula One design thinking in a road car.
Yeah.
And you can see the starts of it in a 720 in that body side, a really heavily sculpted body side. But on the Elva, when you look at it in side view, there's a line which runs across and kicks down. So from the nose, runs along the front, joins back up behind the front wheel, and it kicks down halfway along the door. Exactly the same way that the side pods do on a Formula One car. And of course, if we were going to do that, we had to make sure it was authentic. But,
Right.
so how do you make that work? So clearly, with no windscreen, or obviously you can option a windscreen on Melville, right?
Right.
But the windscreen is so tight and compact, and as a concept initially, it didn't have one.
Yeah.
So without the A-pillars there in the way, you were able to take the air in that zone between the base of the A-pillar where the edges, lower corners of the windscreen are, and the outside of the body. So you have this huge intake just at the front part of the door, and it takes air in down through the door. So that body side line, like on the Formula One cars, steering the air and diffusing the air
feeds it into those pods. Yeah.
But it gives it this really strong character. And when you walk around the car in the flesh, for me, the amount of sculpture in it, there's the only thing with similar amount of sculpture, I would say, is going back to that Alpha 33 Stradale.
Right.
And I think, like the Speedtail, hopefully it's another future concourse winner. The Speedtail's already won quite a lot now. So
yeah. No, the car is absolutely stunning, and it's not to throw in other brands, but everyone's kind of had a go at it. Ferrari with the Monza. The irony is, what's sad about the Elva is that you guys were actually working on that a long time ago, but it looks like it followed the Ferrari, and then Aston looks like they followed everyone else.
Yeah.
But really, you guys have been working on it for a while. I mean, I remember some of the early kind of roadster windshieldless designs that you were working on, and it was, and I got to say, the Elva, knocked it out of the park, because originally what I saw, as much as it was cool, it was very much a 675 LT that was kind of like stripped away and was more of like a Can-Am car. It was super cool.
That was actually that was a different project.
So it was a different project.
Yeah, that was something slightly different. And at that time, we were thinking, obviously, there was some like MSO options and people do with a 720 souped up roof off.
Yeah.
But as you say, the concept of an open top car, it's been around since driving began.
Right.
First cars had no roof.
It was easier not to put a windshield in.
Yeah, and so, Ferraris, your Porsches, but if you go back in time, Bugattis, whoever, Bentley, everyone had no windscreen, no roof. And so anyway, this was our turn, or our modern interpretation. And I think it's been, what makes it really McLaren is not only those volumes, which are unmistakably inspired by nature, this Formula One design language that no one else does, and everything's authentic. But then we had to push the aero to a new level. So we had this active air management system at the front, which the engineering guys cooked up, where we take air in just below the nose and we fire it out above the occupants. And up to about 70 miles an hour, you don't need to wear a helmet. It's just maybe you wear some sunglasses.
Right.
And it means it's incredible. The day I went out in the car, the first time somebody else was driving, and I had to just experience, move your hands up and down. So here, feel a bit of wind, not too bad. You're thinking, is it really working? You put your hand up, and it was
wild.
Incredible. And you could even feel the calm air. Then you can feel the boundary layer of air, which is all turbulent. Then you can feel the free stream air. And I was like, wow, you're just like a big kid, grinning ear to ear.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely insane. The sound quality from the hi-fi, because of this active air system, you can hear the music really well.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
No, it's wild. I mean, and all the CFD work, the computational fluid dynamics that must go into to kind of creating that virtual windshield and creating that S curve over their head. I mean, I've been talking about another design challenge, of how to direct air. And that's a huge issue with Formula One, not having certain surfaces that aren't there,
The Formula One cars are a great example, and Elva is a great example, because in fact, all the McLarens, when you walk around the car, I kind of say there's an invisible jigsaw, and we're trying to steer all the air around the cab. Of course, you never see the air, right?
Right.
So you see the form of the car, which is almost like a negative impression of what the airflow is doing.
Right.
Because it's designed around the people, and it's designed around guiding the air as beautifully or as efficiently as possible around the car, depending on center through to a 570S. So depending on the type of McLaren it is to the approach. But and I love solving that problem. I love working hand in hand with the my team, the design team, works incredibly closely with the engineers, aerodynamicists, and I think that's what's really made the cars so fresh and allowed us to come new onto the market only 10 years ago, and have so much fun doing it, but actually, win so many design awards and so many sort of test reports in the magazines.
Yeah,
so it's been an incredible journey to date.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, tons of questions stacking up here, which are great. A couple of them actually we can knock out really quick. In the beginning, because you can see some people didn't catch the beginning. Somebody said, did you go to the Pasadena Art Center of Design? Because that's something that I think a lot of us are familiar with, how many designers have.
Yeah.
You didn't. Where actually did you go?
Yeah, so I started off, so my first transport course was at Huddersfield University. That's in the north of England. Did a 4-year course there. But then I did my master's in London at the Royal College of Art, which at the time, now Pasadena is very strong, Pforzheim in Germany is very strong. The Royal College, where I went, is still up there. I think it's still number 1, or it's in the top 3, I think, anyway. But they've shifted theirs is a lot about future mobility. It's more about transport solutions. A lot about the design thinking, but all very good schools. So I studied in London for my master's.
Yeah. No, that's not. Okay. Just going to try and knock some of these out here. Okay, another fun one. Favorite livery, favorite racing livery of any time, any car, any racing series.
Easy. So the Lark cars on the F1.
It's funny. I'll be honest with you. I really thought you were going to say John Player Special because of the all black. It was like a little bit of gold. I was waiting for the theme to kick in, but good for you, because you were talking about some color. The Lark car,
bright, kind of like pink, on black.
It's funny. One of the gentlemen that's attending right now and actually watching happens to own a car with the Lark livery on it. Very special car.
I may have spoken to him before then. I can't see.
You have.
Yeah.
So but no, the Lark livery is mega.
I absolutely love it. I used to have a little model car of that one. It's gone missing now, but I love it.
Well, you have kids now. Of course, it's going to go missing. So, okay. What's your daily driver?
Okay. Range Rover Vogue, all black, of course, and then I've got a 720 all black with yellow calipers.
Wait. It's funny. You worked on the Evoque.
So I've not got the Evoque, but I've got the big Range Rover. The Vogue.
Okay.
The
Vogue. I thought you said the Evoque. I was like, did you get it because you had a hand in it? Okay, the Vogue. Yeah. So it's funny. We don't get the Vogue edition here. We get the autobiography.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I just went for the biggest engine I could afford in it. That was
right. You guys don't need big engines over there. Petrol's expensive. Is it a diesel?
This one's a diesel, This one's it's time to chop it in now. I need to swap it. So I've got the dilemma of what do I go for next? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this is something our customers can relate to. They're always wondering what's next. What is on the list, the short list?
God, I haven't given that too much thought, have I, Shell? But you know what? We absolutely love the Range Rover because we've got the McLaren, the 720. We've got a BMW X2 as well, all black. Mm-hmm. And then the Range Rover just does everything. So if we drive into town, if we go into London, it's perfect. If we go up to the hills, walking or down to the beach, it's perfect. So another Range Rover. Yeah.
No. Look, I mean, in terms of design and solving a problem, I mean, you have a family. You know what I mean? You've got to get the family around in style. Yeah. So it's funny. I'm gonna get away from the Range Rover thing, but I have to ask this just because for me, I really like the Velar.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? In terms of design, forget about driving on. Yeah. I really like. I think just design wise, I thought that was just a really sleek, stunning SUV. I really was impressed with how that car turned out.
I think so. I think it's very good looking, well proportioned, very clean. I love the rear lamp graphic. Is something we kicked off in the strategy. And actually, the guy he wasn't the chief on that design, but he was one of the senior designers on there. Mm-hmm. I pinched him from Land Rover, and he worked on the Elva, and he worked on P16 as well.
That's so cool.
So, he's a great designer. So I got him over for that reason, and he's you can see what he's done on Elva. Beautiful surfaces and listen to the words about the Formula One inspired. So, yeah, we've got an amazing team. I mean, we've been lucky, or I've been lucky enough to be able to knock on the door of most people. Pretty much 99% of the people I've approached have always been, yeah.
Yeah.
How soon can I join?
I mean, it's got to be. I mean, look, I understand that people that are into trucks or whatever want to design trucks. But I mean, it's got to be a designer's dream to I mean, to tackle, like you said, not just not just the problems that you guys have to tackle, but just I mean, a brand like McLaren, the models that you get to work with. You know what I mean? I mean, you've got everything from a 570 to the Elva. I mean, you want to talk about extremes. I mean, that's a pretty extreme model range compared to normal production vehicles from GM or even something like Maserati. So
it is.
It's got to be.
I mean, what's interesting in McLaren is when you're doing supercars, clearly there's an optimal wheelbase. So within X amount, right. Optimal wheelbase. Same with width. Just balance of car, so in terms even down to the way all the powertrain, the architecture is laid out, there's an optimal design. And but with McLaren, because we've done cars like Senna and Speedtail 720, 570, there's quite a bandwidth in the way the cars look. The form language goes very angular on a Senna, like a 100-meter sprinter. Yeah. It's muscular, its physique matches the purpose. Speedtail's kind of like the Olympic swimmer, long, lean, and elegant.
Yeah.
And the 720 is like a decathlete, can do anything very well. But the physique matches the job. And for most designers, if you go, like when I was at Cadillac, it was like, take this design language and just repeat.
Right.
At different sizes, like Russian doll.
Totally.
That's not that exciting as a designer. Yeah. Whereas when we came to McLaren, I thought, right, we need to be smart here. We can't just do Russian doll because a supercar doesn't need to be, 2 meters tall and 5 meters, 6 meters tall. So we have to be. I call it physique differentiation. So the physique communicates the purpose of the vehicle. So it's like visual storytelling, going back to my Pixar days. So I think that the design opportunity at McLaren and the freedom we get is incredible.
Yeah. So bunch of questions are stacking up, which is great. And actually, I'll tie this one again to another question. It says, what does your design process look like? But I'm going to throw in some added bits on there. What's the size of the design team, and what does that design process look like? Okay,
the design team, the core design team, the permanent staff is 42. That can fluctuate as high as just over 100. And it can come back. I mean, earlier last year we were about 80, and we're back down to around 50 at the moment. So it's still a pretty big team, but the elements that we cover, a little bit of management, obviously strategy, vision, where we're heading next, future opportunities, concepts, technologies. I align the visual and technology roadmaps to say this is where we want to head. And then you have the designers. You have the color and materials designers. You have studio engineers. We've got the cast modelers, so they're the people who generate the digital surface.
Yeah.
For the designs, we have the clay modelers. Who else have we got in there? So we have project management, like the PMO team, visualization, because we need to be able to create these. We create incredible visuals now using Unreal Engine, which the kids use playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
But we're good friends with the guys at UE. There are quite a lot of McLarens between them, and that's how we got to know them really well. So we've leveraged that early on, and we can create these real-time, like fully rendered visuals. We take the shareholders through the car park. This is how your showroom could look 20 years from now, 10 years from now, and show all the different routes you could go down. So that's what we're responsible for, really, through creation and delivery. So we're not only there in the concept phase, but we follow the design through to delivery phase as well. So we work hand in hand with the engineering teams. And so the process, how does that look? Initially, the idea can come in different forms, right? So number one is you can repeat a model. You can do the second generation,
right?
Like 720 to 650. You know what the car should be in essence. It sits at the core of the brand. but it's going to be better, more dramatic, better design thinking, lighter. And how can you do that in a fresh way? But then there can be something which is what's a new product? What's a future opportunity? Right. And clearly, looking into the future, what new cultural pressures are coming this way? How can the brand be stretched? So you can replacement or all new idea. Right. And a lot of the all new ideas go through and never go anywhere. They just go on a back burner. They get parked. Maybe they're relevant in 5, 10, 15 years time. Super futuristic. It's such a shame I can't tell you about it because it would blow your mind. It's literally like military type projects where they're not even just like a supercar in the way you would think of a supercar.
Right.
It completely rewrites the rule books.
Yeah.
I just hope we get the opportunity in 10 years time to show everyone. So absolutely phenomenal. So from the idea, we go into the creation phase. Here we sketch lots of ideas. We plaster the room with sketches. And then we go into scale models, 40%. Then from the scale models, we narrow that down to the best 2, go to full size, develop that for maybe 2 months, choose the best full size design, go to 1, develop that for 8 months. And we work it in clay, we work with digital. So we can develop an idea in digital. We're developing one in tandem in the clay, in the physical model. If the digital one is better, we machine it on one side, or we can do a comparison. Mm-hmm. Then we balance over. Then eventually, over the months, we end up with one clay model that captures all the engineering input, all design input, perceived quality, the manufacturing, all the paint issues, all the crash testing, all the pedestrian legislation, all the tooling feasibility. So we have to, as designers, we have to bring all those different. We're not masters in all of it. Yeah, we're masters in bringing it all together and making it. In keeping people to stick to the vision, as opposed to going off here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. So,
it's funny. You actually touched on some things that are in this question here that I was going to ask that I thought was great, and it basically says, what's the biggest trade-off between actual design and manufacturing? And you mentioned a lot of it in terms of what all the things you have to factor in terms of safety and all that. So, what would you say are some of the biggest trade-offs when you look at your design and when it actually goes to manufacturing, what do you have to kind of give up?
I think, so there's certain things you can't negotiate on. So the size of the occupants, you have to be able to package like 97th percentile person, slightly bigger than me. You need a place for the powertrain. You need to meet the safety requirements, right? So those certain things are a given. And then it's really about the architecture. How can you best lay out the architecture under the skin to give the best balance, the best route of air through the car as well as around it? How do you create the most integrated way of reducing the downforce? So, diffuser that starts right at the front of the car and runs all the way to the back clearly is the best. It's like on the old race cars.
Right.
So how do you design the architecture around the people as efficiently as possible? How do you step in and out of the car? So you're balancing all these things up. But the one that restricts us, design is about compromise. So it's a hard question because ultimately art, you can do what you want.
Right.
Design is about, and I kind of see my job and the other, like the engineering design directors, our job is to find that best balance, which means there's a compromise somewhere. Right. It delivers the best product, the most fun product, easiest to use product to the customer.
Yeah.
So, what restricts us? I think the safety legislation, the crash testing. So, height of the lamps and the volume of the car means you have to meet certain requirements, and the pendulum tests, which mean the bump has to be a certain height. So, before you know it, the nose is set height, the lamp is a set height.
Right.
And there you go.
No. I mean, and I think it's funny. A lot of people I feel like don't factor that in because they don't realize the challenges that you guys have. With bringing something to life. And the functionality of it. Like you said, the requirements of not just whether you need a roof or not or anything like that. It's that all these angles are dictated by definitely not by people that love cars. Let's put it that way. But I do. Yeah. But I mean, that's where something like Speedtail's got to be exciting, right? Because you're like, no wing mirrors,
Yeah.
no, little things like that you get to kind of play around with, which really is the
It helps.
future.
Yeah, it is. It is the future, and actually, at the moment in federal
Until they
law,
write it into legislation,
yeah,
but it's the
because
future.
in federal you need the wing mirrors, right? You need the mirrors, whereas in Europe you can use the cameras. So hopefully, eventually, once everything is aligned around the world, then we can see cars being produced for markets with these really clever solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been fortunate to visit, your guys' design studio, especially the secret one, the offsite one. And I got to tell you, one of the projects that I saw, and it was really funny to watch the design team get so excited about the fact that because this car was being designed only for the US market, that we actually, which I did not know, have very, I don't want to call it lax, but very, I guess, favorable mirror design laws that allowed you guys to design some very good looking side view mirrors that actually wouldn't pass in other parts of the world.
European mirror legislation.
Right. Yep. For some reason you froze up for a second. Oh. I don't know what happened. Oh, we lost you. I think now you're back.
Bill, I'm going to ask me quietly and calmly.
Okay, now you're back. Just so you know that you were gone the entire time. You keep freezing. You seem better now. You're good? Oh, okay. Everyone hang tight. He's just going to log back in. The questions are just piling up here, which is great. I got a 2-by job, which is get to all of them in less than 6 minutes. So,
right. How's that, Parris?
No, spot on. Amazing. Thank you for.
Did you lose me?
Yeah. But it's okay. You're back. So I'll let you kind of finish on the whole mirror thing about how
So different legislation in different areas of the world are favourable for different parts of the car. But of course, when you're designing, like now, everything's about efficiency in design, right? So the manufacturers, whether you're at McLaren or BMW or Mercedes, they want you to design one car that's fit for purpose around the world. So you have to put all restrictions into one design.
Yeah,
makes it even more challenging because all those bits you have to meet. How do you make something look completely fresh? And that's where I think we earn our crust, so to speak.
Yeah. No, so I mean, going back, because there's a lot of Elva questions here that I want to ask that people are asking. Elva is actually a great example. That was one that not just from a country standpoint, but even in the U.S., there's certain states where they're totally good without a windshield, and so we actually. I remember when you guys showed it to everyone in North America, and everyone was obviously blown away, but I think everyone thought like, well, wait, why haven't I seen a car without a windshield? Like, why isn't everyone doing this? And then you start to look at, you may live in this state, but every state around you doesn't care if you have a windshield or not. So it's interesting to see how not even just you're like, okay, look, we got Europe covered or we got the US covered. Like even within the US, there's just little things like that.
And it was due to that because it was due to that different legislation around the states. Because if you just look online and you look at federal law, you don't need one. But of course, as you go into state law, clearly you do. So we've literally nearly finished the windscreen design and all the feasibility work now. So it's pretty much good to go. Yeah. And it looks really cool. Actually, it looks so good. It looks so tight and compact. It still looks super exotic. I was just looking at the latest images literally yesterday, and it really, on that proportion of the Elva, those huge sweeping fenders that come down to that super low nose, there's so much movement in there. Then you have this really tight windscreen shrink wrap down. It looks really, really cool.
So it's funny. I actually want to ask something. This is my own question. I know that the Elva project, it kind of starts life with obviously you don't want a windshield, right? That was kind of part of the project.
Yeah.
Because of the constraints, because of the fact that you wanted a car that was accessible to more people, especially obviously in the US, did you actually almost appreciate the challenge? Was it almost fun to go, all right, the US needs a windscreen. I'm going to give it my best go. Like I'm going to design the F out of this windscreen.
You don't know what I said at first, but I was like, there's a few expletives, but I guess the concept was, this is our purest open top, 356 Spider type thing, going back to that era, that kind of vintage era of open top racing. But law is the law, right?
Right.
I'm not, so I had to kind of let that go, and of course, as designers, you're used to getting challenges thrown at you, and it's a case of okay, cool. The car looks fantastic without. The mission now is make it look fantastic with. And as I say, yesterday it's come on a lot, and it looks great. It really does. We've managed to make it look as though it really suits the car and is at home there.
Yeah.
But of course, then you don't need the active air management system. So it depends. The purest version for me, or the windscreen version, where it's in keeping. It looks tight, looks fantastic, but you can use it in your state, which is kind of important.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And actually, I'm going to throw out another bit that personally for me stood out when I saw, because obviously I saw early renderings with the windshield. This is before you guys had really thrown all your resources and ideas at it. And we're just like, okay, let's just put something out there. Is there a part of you that thinks that, and I don't mean to lead you with this question, but I mean, the first thing that stood out to me was, as much as I love the idea of that ducting system, because again, it's such a clever solution. It's such an elegant solution. But is there a part of you that almost likes the idea that hood is now a clean surface that doesn't have to have that intake? Because if you have the windshield, like you said, you don't need that. And now all of a sudden you have a very different front end. You don't just have an Elva with a windshield. You've actually got a very different hood setup.
Yeah, and there's absolutely pros and cons to it. I think overall the silhouette inside view, you've clearly got the windscreen, etc. But it's something we're all familiar with, and you can use the car, I'd say, probably in more conditions. Once you're getting over 70 miles an hour,
right?
You come with a helmet and everything. Because I think beyond that, you would.
Right, of course, yeah.
But in terms of legal speed limits, the fact you can put sunglasses on, get that full wind in the hair experience. It's so cool. So I've spoken to people who sit firmly on either side. Design-wise, like I say, both look fantastic. I am always keen on keeping things as clean as possible. But this time, you get a windscreen, you lose a feature, or you gain a feature, you lose the windscreen. So it kind of keeps its balance either way.
Yeah. What I think is actually kind of cool is that both are going to exist. You know what I mean? That's kind of the exciting. I think there's a lot of things that get scrapped, or there's a lot of things that when it's A or B, it gets, one gets discarded. I think it's kind of neat that both are going to exist.
Yeah. And the main thing from our point of view is both solutions should look natural. And now with the windscreen coming later, the challenge was making that windscreen look as though it was always meant to be.
Yeah.
And it does now. And I think we've really hit the nail. We've nailed it now. It looks great.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see the final solution.
Yeah.
The questions have it's been great. All the questions that people have been asking, and I want to make sure I knock them out, because we've actually just gone over by 1 minute. So do you mind giving us a little bit longer?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one of them on here is, basically, well, it says basically, when did Elva start? But I'll elaborate, I guess, on that question.
Wow.
Think of it more from, not, I guess, when did it start, but also what was it like? What was the driving force? I mean, again, when you guys are sitting around, I know you sketch a lot on napkins and whatever surface you can. What was I guess, what was the catalyst, or what was, somebody said, we got to make this thing with no windshield. Like, what was the genesis of it?
God, that goes back a really, really long time, actually. So the actual project itself started, let's say, like 3.5 years ago, something like this. Mm-hmm. It could be nearly 4 years now, but say 3.5 years ago. But the actual sort of genesis, you'll be going back to maybe 10 years
Wow.
ago. Because when you're looking like an ultimate series, you go, okay, well, we have a technology showcase, P1.
Right.
Then you go, we want this sort of ultimate road legal track car, which was Senna. Then we went the ultimate Hyper GT, Speedtail. But we had this kind of quadrangle, this sort of diamond shape. We wanted to populate. And the final one we decided, even back then, the feeling was one that was just based on pure experience, like adrenaline, open to the elements. And so we had this kind of these four corners, and that's 10 years ago.
Jeez. So it's been, I mean, it's a long time coming, and I mean, it must feel good to kind of like check the box, right? Because I mean, over decades long of wanting to bring this thing to life.
Yeah, and it was a case of creating these different feelings within this ultra high-end sort of dream car landscape, and that was the final one. So,
no, that's awesome. All right, so I'm going to do my job,
as emotional as possible.
All right, so I'm going to do my job. I'm going to try and knock out some easy questions, and some of these are just fun. So one of them on here is who's your favorite football team? Soccer team is what they mean, but
so Leeds United.
Leeds United
used to be good. That's where I'm from.
No idea. No idea what that is.
United, who everyone's heard
is that
of,
an airline?
Arch enemies. I like Liverpool at the moment. They're obviously doing really well, playing fantastic football. I love the coach. I love the way how he makes people better than what they were. So a great example is like a people coach, and in my position, that's always my challenge. I want to bring people on, and I just hope I could be as good as him.
So, okay, a couple ones here. I want to knock out. Oh, come on, let's see. Oh, this may be a long-winded one, and I know that this also has some politics to it because I know that, but. Have you played around, and again, it doesn't have to be like in an official capacity, but have you played around with a 2+2 design for McLaren? I won't get into SUV or anything like that. But...
I think the easy answer is I mean, all car companies look at such a broad group of things, but when I was at GM, I was doing land speed record cars, and who would have thought that lunchtime sketch would have been picked up by my boss, taken to Bob Lutz, and we started designing and building a full-size land speed record car with hybrid technology. And I'm always dreaming about future things, whether it's city mobility, 2+2s, different types of, let's say different genres of vehicle type, things we haven't necessarily thought of. And this is even before what's hit the world this year. We've got drawers full of all sorts of things, amazing things.
Well, sometime we're going to have to raid those drawers because I think everyone wants to see. So a lot of the I think some of the stuff that you jot down on a napkin we'd all love to see. I've seen some of your stuff. I've been fortunate enough to be there when you're swiping through your iPad to show me something, and I'm like, wait, So there's a lot of cool stuff.
The Gran Turismo Vision car, which we did for the video game, years ago, that started. That was 2011 when I sketched that. And you think about. So originally, that was just like a tandem seating. Like 2/3 of an F1 car. The Formula One car in terms of seating layout. But for the video game, we made it single seater, sat forwards. So the person playing the game felt more in the action. But the logic of that car, full length diffuser, fully open frontal area, everything shrink wrapped down, all the hardware componentry stacked up in front of the tires, the occupant. So minimal frontal area, maximum efficiency, and that's nearly a decade old now.
It's wild when you think about that, because I mean that car still to this day. There's a client of mine. I was having him Google another McLaren project that had leaked, BCO3, and when there was nothing out there for people to see, they put the Vision Gran Turismo as kind of in articles, and he's like, "What is this?" And it's crazy to think that it's from that long ago, and that it still has that kind of that impact.
And the thinking that's gone into that has influenced a lot of cars, from the Aston projects through. The logic is sound. That's why. Anyway.
Yeah. It's well. Anyway, look, you gave us more time than I asked of you, which means we're going to have to do this again because I have to admit there's a lot of questions that I didn't get to. So for everyone, I apologize. Don't take it out on Rob. Take it out on me.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking too much.
No. That's why we have you on here. Look, you'll have to promise to do this again because
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Next month if you want.
Yeah, done. We're gonna make it happen. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for joining us. Again, feel free to leave any comments at the end about again what you'd like to see more of. And Rob, I look forward to when I get to see you face to face again.
Yeah, with masks.
Yeah. Okay. With masks.
Right. Take care. Good to see you again, Parris.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye. That was cool, Parris.
Oh, you're still there?
I'm still there. I turned my video off. Anyway, I'm off now, mate. All right. Take care. Speak to you soon.
All right. Speak to you soon. Cheers.